So, Terrifier 2 came out in 2022, and a lot of people have been saying that it was the best movie of that year. So let's see if that holds as much merit as Amber Heard stating that she didn't take a big shit in Johnny Depp's bed, and she blamed the dogs. She blamed the dogs. She never blamed the dogs. And yes, the voice behind the Movie Massacre Show is a fucking little emo. Anyway, let's discuss Terrifier 2. Have you ever watched a movie and while you've been watching it you've thought, well, these kills are a little too much for me? Well, I actually felt that way when I started in the middle of Terrifier 2. Like, if you've seen the first one, and I know a lot of you by now have already seen part 2, the first one had a scene in it, a death scene in it, that shocked a lot of people, even people that were desensitized from horrific kills, like the Saw franchise had introduced to the horror community, and that kill did shock a lot of people. The vagina killer with the Saw, and a lot of people are saying that there is a kill in Terrifier 2. Before I watched Terrifier 2, a lot of people were saying that there was a kill in Terrifier 2 that matches it, and a few of my friends, I believe Lisa Loves, has said that it's not the kill in part 2 isn't as shocking as the one in the first one, and I can understand as a woman it probably isn't, but for me it's the only kill in a horror movie where I have this itch inside me to fast forward through that kill, because he just makes me feel dirty. It makes me feel horrible, like I just need a fucking wash. It's disgusting. And I'm going to talk about the kills in Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2 starts off straight after the events of the first film, and straight away it hits you in the fucking face with it sets the tone for how brutal it is going to be. And this one it makes the first one look like a fucking Care Bear film. Straight away, art I like to think it's called art because his kills are like a work of art, if you're a fucking lunatic, that is. Straight away bashes this guy's fucking head in, and he's missing an eye from the previous film, so it takes this poor guy's eye out. It's brutal. You see everything, by the way. It's not a cutaway and cut back when the bad thing's been done. It takes this poor guy's eye out and puts it in his eye socket without the eye. You can see it hanging out, and he's just laughing while the other the guy he's on top of is screaming in pain and mocking the shit out of him. And it takes the eye out, and then it's disgusting from the get-go. Imagine, I'd like to have been in the cinemas to see this, because I imagine a lot of people that had brought their wives or husbands to see it, if the other is a horror fan, would have been very squeamish watching it, because next time it pulls this guy's head apart and pulls his fucking brain out, and that's when you know you're in for a fucking good time. There are going to be spoilers if you haven't seen Terrifier 2, so I'll just tell you right now. But I'm not gonna talk about every kill, but I'm gonna talk about the kill, which apparently this is the fucking money shot of kills. This is Art's masterpiece, in my opinion, and I can understand why people don't think it's as good as the one from the first one, but I do. Apparently, they started filming this, and then COVID happened, and this shoot was only supposed to take, I believe 2 days, and then COVID happened and they had to stop. But David Leone saw this as a way to improve on this and make it much, much worse or better. For us viewers, will it make us puke up, make us want to fucking pass out? Because some people passed out watching this, and I can understand why, if you're not a hardcore fan, that we probably look at it and laugh, because it doesn't look real at all. But if you don't watch things like that, it's going to shock the shit out of you. For this kill, the person who Art is terrifying, and pun intended, is someone called Laura. Is played by fuck me up my arsehole. So this woman that Art is terrifying, pun intended, he goes to the house for some trick or treat, and she's not having any of it because he's an adult, so she won't give him any treats. Come on, woman. Even us adults like to go trick or treating, even though we're not supposed to. You're in, a kid never leaves, and we want candy. We want candy, and she refuses to give it him. So she shuts the door in his face. And by this time, she's lucky Art hasn't already killed her due to the disrespect of not giving him the treats. And he starts banging on the door because he's not very happy. It's loud. She opens the door. She throws treats at him. She sees all the stuff in his sack of. He carries a sack around with him, if you don't already know, with his killing devices in it. He's not very happy, obviously, and you see a scene, which this is why I think this scene is so good. And I'll paint a picture for you. I'll make some art. She's in a bedroom. This character. The bedroom is very colourful. It's got lots of yellows, I believe oranges. Looks like a very happy, warm place, and where nothing bad should happen. And it does, because Art gets into the house and it chases her into the bedroom, and you see everything in this scene. It is horrific. Even for me, I need to fast forward. I always want to fast forward to it, even though I don't, because it's horrible. It is horrible, because the person this is happening to, she gathered in this film, is a lovely person, a lovely friend to Sienna, which is the final girl. This woman here is not the final girl. She ain't surviving. So he cuts her eye, and it's horrific. It's like someone's took a card and gone, woof, or paper cut here. You see it's horrible. And then he starts like peeling her skin off. You see everything. And then he gets some scissors, cuts the top of her head off, slowly by the way, and it looks quite tough for him, and he pulls the scalp off. You see everything. Blood's all over the place, and he grabs her arm, snaps her arm, and by this time she's caked in blood, and she's just flapping around on the floor, and you're thinking, is it over yet? It's not over yet. It's not over yet. Picks her back up. He grabs her hand, one hand here. He splits her arm all the way through, just like paper, and it's horrible. And then he just starts skinning her, ripping her skin off, stabbing her in the back. And I think by this time it's gone on for 4 or 5 minutes. This kill's very long and stretched out, and you think it's over. He leaves the room and you're thinking, she's still alive. This poor woman is still alive. Then guess what Art does? Comes back in with some bleach and salt, and I just wish this poor woman would just give up and die instead of fighting for her life, because it's only going to get worse. And he just starts pouring bleach all over and salt. It's horrific. And the worst part is, if you're a mother or a father, a mother comes home and Art's having a blast. He's like, ooh, he's smiling, and he's really enjoying himself, as he would be, because he enjoys to kill. The mother walks in and she screams, and she's laid on the bed by now, and she's fully skinned by this point, and she's still alive, and Art's just next to her peeling odd bits of skin off, and she turns around, looks at her mother and goes, Mom, and Art's just like, ha, doing that laugh that he does. He's like, ha. It's horrible, and it shocks a lot of people, and I believe that, and I read that a lot of people were leaving the cinema with feeling faint and whatnot, and I believe it was most likely due to this scene. And I think Damien Leone did a crowdfund for a certain amount of money, which to fund this kill, because it looks very expensive, and it's all done with practical effects, by the way, and it looks phenomenal. I think it is hard to watch if you don't regularly watch gory horror films, and if you do like horror, and I'm spoiling it for you, and because you don't care, check it out. I think you will really appreciate the amount of detail and effort that went into the practical effects in this scene. So our final girl is played by Lauren Lavera, who plays a girl called Sienna, and she's one of the best final girls I've seen in a movie for a very, very long time. She's very well written, and she is specifically created to. She's a fucking angel goddess in this with a fucking sword, and she is created to battle to be the good to Art's evil, and we don't really know what part of that is about yet, because they do throw more questions in this, which I hope they'll answer in Terrifier 3, even though I did read that they are going to make Terrifier 3, apparently. The script is so big that they want to stretch it out into a Terrifier 4, which is fucking great for us, isn't it? And I wonder what kind of kills they're going to try and make, to top the money shot kill for each film. But yeah, she has a brother who is a YouTuber as well, I believe. Elliot Fulham, he's called Jonathan in this, and he's a nutcase as well. He's a bit of a nut. Some red flags on him because he is obsessed with killers, and he also wants to dress as Art the Clown for Halloween, which is very, very questionable. But he doesn't kill anything at a young age like killers would. But he is a little odd. And they're missing their father, and their father he's got a book full of drawings, and he has drawn Sienna in it, in this like kick-ass goddess costume with the sword. And Sienna recreates this costume for Halloween, which basically becomes her hero uniform to Art's clown stuff, evil looking clown stuff. It's does really lean into the supernatural for this one, unlike the first film where it had a hint of it and it made you question, is this going the supernatural route? But this film 100% tells you that it is going the supernatural route hardcore for this one, and probably even more in the third film. We find because in this book there's also pictures of Art, and we don't know why. Did the father know about Art before? Is her father Art? All these questions that could maybe be answered in 3, maybe in 4. We don't know, but it's very interesting that they've done chose to do this and stretch it out for more films, because they know what we like as horror fans. You can clearly see that by watching this. We all love horror, and it's great to see this funded by horror fans for horror fans. You can really tell and feel the love that's been put into this film for people like us and people like them, because they probably go back and watch it, and they know I believe they really do know that they have and are creating something special. And due to them, loving horror movies like we do, there's quite a lot of homages to horror films in it, and one specifically I'm not sure how to. I think people look at this scene that I'm about to talk to in different ways, and I'd like to know what you feel about it. Is Sienna has a dream, and in this dream she's a little girl, and it's on a TV show, and he appears on this TV show, gives out gifts, and then pulls out a fucking Tommy gun and starts just blowing the kids to fucking smithereens. And there's this box of cereal with glass and all sorts of nonsense in it, but Sienna's still alive. And she puts a hand in it and pulls this sword out, this magic sword, which does come into the film later on, for real. And he's going around flamethrowing people by this point. And he goes to flamethrow her, but she puts the sword up and it blocks the flames, knocks it to Art. But she wakes up and the flames come into the real world and set these angel wings that she's made on fire. And it makes me wonder if that is definitely a homage to Nightmare on Elm Street, but it also makes me wonder if Art can actually go into your dreams. And it may have gone into that dream to try to kill Sienna, because, the fire appeared for real. So it might be something that they may explore in Terrifier 3 and 4. His powers might be unlimited, but we'll see about that. And let's discuss where I think he gets his powers from. So I believe in Terrifier, the original, he's just a killer that just enjoys stabby and torturing people. In part 2, he is supernatural, and we'll learn this straight from the get-go, but it kind of throws in why he's supernatural, but it doesn't fully tell us anything, which we'll find out in Terrifier 3 or 4. It's covered in blood from the events of the first film, and a kill and some art is just made, a stabby. And he goes to a laundromat and he takes his clothes off. He's sat naked, but he's still got his makeup on. And he sits down, and he turns around with this a girl. It's clearly a demon, but she looks like a smaller version of him. She's got the clown stuff on. She's sat on this chair. She turns around, looks at him. Her eyes are glowing. Then she shits everywhere. It's very fluidy. Needs some water or something. And then she goes up to him. She starts pressing the wounds on his face because he's got an eye missing. And they start playing pat a cake. And I don't think Art knows who this is. I don't think he's seen her before, because I don't think he'd recognise her. It hints that this was Art's first victim, but due to the makeup and whatnot, she looks very different from the actor. plays this character. So we don't know where that's going, but throughout the film, she's there, and she seems to be harnessing or giving Art these powers. So I think she's a demon, and I think she, as much as we might not like it because we want Art to be his own entity, she's probably powering him, in my opinion, and feeding him the stuff he needs to keep killing. Because I feel like there's some more weird shit that's going to come into this. Now for me, there's only one thing that I didn't like in Terrifier 2, and it's on for way over 2 hours. I can't remember exactly how long it was on for, but it is on for way over 2 hours, and I could clip about 10 to 15 minutes off of that myself. And some of that would be where there's a party scene, and this party, and they just stood around talking to each other with a boyfriend and whatnot. And I'd cut some of that out, and some of the scenes where she's talking to her mother. Not that the mother is bad in this or anything, she's actually really good in it. She's not one of those cookie cutter moms that, I've baked your stuff. She's a badass, and I think they writ that in person. On purpose, so we could see where Sienna gets her feistiness and her badassery from, which I believe is a mum, which is kind of upsetting because her mum gets her face blown off at towards the end of the film, and it's fucking brutal as well. And I felt sorry for her mother because she's hard-headed, very hard-headed, and I felt like she could have put up a pretty good fight against Art if they both went one-on-one, but Art, being the savage bastard that he is, he didn't really fight her. He just pulled the trigger on a gun at point-blank range in her face, and it turned her face into mush, into dog meat. And speaking of like mush and dog meat, after she's got a huge hole in the face, he puts her in the house, and he sets them around the table, and Art's making dinner. He's making food. He's made mashed potato, and he comes in with the mashed potato, and her mother's just sat there with the face caved in, and he picks up the mashed potato and he shoves it in her face so she can eat it, even though she's dead. But you know what Art's like, he's a fucking nutcase. But yeah, the film's people in it acting, they're all great. They're all better than fine. The film looks great. It's got the filter on it that makes it look like the the slasher icon movies of the 1980s. It looks phenomenal, and it really does fit the tone of it, especially with the music, like the synth music that it has, which is badass, by the way. And it feels like Nightmare on Elm Street at the start when you get that kind of music, and Sienna's like making the costume for Halloween, and it's similar to, I believe it's Nightmare 4 or 5, I forget which one, where she's making the house out of paper mache and whatnot. Similar scene to that, and that it's just straight up badassery. But if you get the chance or haven't seen Terrifier 2 yet, but you've seen the first one, it is a must watch, and I do agree with a lot of people. Probably is one of the best movies of 2022, horror movies of 2022. And this guy's Art is going to be a horror icon. I felt like he planted his seeds in the first one, not being a horror icon in the first one, but he's definitely going to get there, I believe, if they make a part 3 and 4. So we all need to get together and fund it so we can see phenomenal horror. And if we can fund horrors for people that enjoy horrors, that enjoy making horrors, we'll get better horrors for it. And yeah, keep at it. You're all fucking awesome. That's it for today. I thought I would go unmasked as a thank you for supporting the channel for such a long time. I really enjoy doing it, and we're going to have more of these in character with the mask, and we do have more Cheap Trash cinema coming up, and a few podcasts on the way too with some special guests. Anyway, have a good one. Join our fucking cult, City.